Hey there, welcome back to Liz and Sandro's Marketing Podcast. We're the podcast that helps companies and marketing departments control their business, their brand, and get the word out. We are back after taking a break for several months. Sandro and I have been super busy working on various client projects, but we felt like now would be a very important time to get back, come together, and start recording again. It is mid-March as we're recording this episode. And by the way, we are recording via Zoom to be safe. We wanted to jump in and share some ideas around COVID-19, share some insight from our guest today. Jeff Booher is back with us. And we also wanted to share some insight for your marketing department, and just to help you get through this very crazy time. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to us via email. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear how you're doing and what questions you have as we face some kind of crazy times ahead. As I mentioned, we have a guest today. Jeff is with us. He's been on the podcast before, and we are thrilled to have him back. Jeff has held leadership roles in the marketing industry for over 15 years at agencies and in the financial industry. He has recently lent his expertise to the rebranding and marketing efforts of the city where he resides. He is currently employed as a marketing and business consultant and a project manager. We are thrilled to have Jeff back. And you know what I have to say, Jeff has been the one kind of nudging us to really get back to our recording routine. So Jeff, great to have you.
Thank you. I've missed the podcast as you both were away. I'm glad to hear that you're both safe and healthy and in good spirits.
We are. Thank you.
As are you and your family, I hope. Jeff?
So far, so good.
So let's start out with Jeff. He came to us initially with this idea, and we're going to start with him, and he's going to give us some ideas on how businesses can handle this disruption. Okay.
Sure. So with COVID-19, it not only infects people and spreads that way, but it also infects businesses. And what COVID-19 is, it's just another business disruption. And basically what that is, just real quickly, simply, is your organization's ability to deal with setbacks. So it could be something as minor as power going out, or something as major as a global pandemic. And, we always hear that stat that 40% of American families can't afford an unexpected $400 expense. And what we're seeing, I think, is that same vulnerability in some of these small businesses where if you're not having revenue or income or customers for a month, 3 months, 6 months, then does your business survive? So it's not only killing people and putting people at risk, it's also killing businesses as well. Partially why it's killing businesses is they didn't have a plan. So do you have a plan for business resiliency? Do you have a plan if a water main breaks? Do you have a plan if the roof blows off? And if you don't have one and it's not too late, you got to make one. If it's not too late for you or your business. A lot of companies will make a plan and stick it on the shelf just in case, and then, oh, okay, we need it, and blow the dust off of it, and it's 10 years old. And a lot of that information in that plan no longer applies. So you really need to not only have one, but update it regularly. And by the way, this business resiliency is something I learned at business school. So for those of you who think business school is a waste of money, probably not. Because that's when you learn about crap like this. Risk management, business resiliency, stuff that can go wrong. You learn it in business school. So there are some resources you can go to for help. There in Ohio, our governor, yes.
Can I jump in with a question?
Jump in whenever you want.
Have you heard any stats around perhaps how many businesses might just completely close as a result of this?
I mean, I think it's gradual. Dominoes are falling. So what I'm hearing now through the news and through some resources is that anything that's local, like your local used bookstore or local movie theaters or local kind of like just like there's only one location of that business may not survive. So like your town may not look the same after this virus calms down as it did before the epidemic took place. So I don't have like a certain percentage or anything like that, but it will look different. There will be permanent closures due to this.
Yeah, I haven't heard any stats either. I was just wondering if you had, so good. And
yeah, I think every
just quickly to build on what you're saying, I'm part of a national PR network, and we had a check-in call yesterday, and it was great just to kind of share what's going on around the country, because we're 50 PR professionals in all of the top 50 markets around the country, basically. So great to hear what they were all saying, kind of how things are unfolding in different parts of the country. And what you just said was absolutely echoed on that call, that even large companies with plans in place didn't have anything for this type of scenario. They just had never thought about it. So I think what you said was great advice.
Yeah, so there's some resources though for help. Where we are in Ohio, the governor has set up an email to help, and we can list all of these in the show notes. There are some disaster loans. If your governor in your state declares a state of emergency or a disaster area, there are certain loans that you may be eligible for. There are some standard loans as well that are offered in times of crisis. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. It could be just kind of local to your business. If you have a business credit card, I'm sure that there's going to be some programs that they offer. Banks are offering certain forbearance programs. Your vendors, call in a favor. That person that if you're a restaurant that brings you your produce, maybe they'll let you float a little bit. I'm sure they don't want to lose you as a customer if they can play the long game and help you out. And your landlord. Yes, your landlord. That person you may think just wants your money and doesn't care about you. They actually might. And there might be some peer pressure for landlords to let you skate on the rent for a certain amount of time. So those are some possible resources. There are for sure others. It's not limited to those specific things that I mentioned. But like before you close and before you kind of just throw your hands up and give up, you do everything that you can to keep your business going. Do everything that you can to see what your options are, and only close as a last resort is my advice. So there's also, as a business owner, you really have to kind of back up and think about what is your obligation to your employees. And this is something I feel extremely strong about. You need to do everything in your power to take care of your employees. Those are the people that you hired to help you, who probably are, the main drivers of revenue, the main drivers of keeping your business successful when times are great. But then when times aren't so great, what are you doing for them? And it is my opinion that you have an obligation to do whatever you can. I think that we're going towards a post-capitalistic society here, where it's not just make as much money as you can. There's your social responsibility to those around you. There's a community responsibility that you have as a business owner. And now, of course, an environmental responsibility. But the first responsibility you have is to your employees. And if you are not closing, you can do more for your employees. Let me give you an example. My mother, shout out mom, she's 63. And just as recent as yesterday, her boss was still having her come to work. And the reason why is because, they're not set up for remote work. So apparently, no one has told her boss about Zoom and a freaking laptop and a VPN, because that's pretty much all you need to resume business. So, it's that kind of mentality that it really has your employees lose faith in you as a business owner and really wonder, like, if you care about them at all, or if they're just cogs in a machine. So you really need to do whatever you can for your employees. And they're really, I worked for a person who once a summer would take us on his boat, and then 30 days later told us he couldn't afford health insurance for us. It's just, this is it. It's got to stop. We're in a post-capitalist society, okay? Like employees, it's not just work for the paycheck anymore. Employees demand more of a responsibility, and they're looking to you, business owner, person with the money, to help us out, when we need help. And especially at a time like this, turning your backs on your employees, word's going to get out. And, the employees are not going to be there when you need them, when you survive this. So that's just my little rant. That's my opinion on that. So really do whatever you can to stay afloat. And hey, if your employees, if you got a spare bedroom and you got one employee and they're going to get evicted, there you go. Have them crash on the couch. I'm serious. Like, this is not a time to mess around with your employees, and it's not a time to do what's convenient. We really have to step up. We really have to do whatever we can to take care of each other. Rant over.
Jeff, I think that's great advice. And going back to that phone call I had yesterday with my PR network, some of the wrap-up thoughts on that call were, as PR professionals, we should be advising our clients to be incredibly proactive and cautious right now. If anyone is sick, if anyone's not feeling well, like, send them home. Again, be very proactive about this, because the thought was, once some of this dust settles, people will be looking to point fingers, and you don't want to. Unfortunately, we're very litigious in this country, and you don't want to suddenly have a major lawsuit on your hands because you were requiring employees to come to work during during a major state of emergency. So yeah, great advice there.
You know what, Liz? I was coming to it from an altruistic point of view, but you know what? If you want to be a selfish and just do it for your own self-interests, do it. I don't care what the reason is to do it. Just do it. So yes, you're right. Whatever works.
Yeah. I will also share that I had a conversation with a business owner who is not a client. And this person was a little miffed that they had to issue a statement to their company. And he was like, I don't understand why people think that I have any sort of authority to speak on this. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're the owner of your company. They're looking to you for some sort of guidance, and you're pissed that you had to write a couple paragraphs to ease everyone's fears. Like, it was baffling to me that they didn't realize how far that would go. But
yeah, I get that there's like a line. Like, I got an email from Urban Outfitters about their COVID response. So it's like, so I bought a hoodie from you in like 2013, and now I need to know what your response is. Like, I'm good, but like, no, like, yeah, if you're the owner and everyone's talking about it, they're being asked about it from their family and the people that they interact with, and they're wondering about it. So yeah, they have to know where you come out on it. Are you recommending that they take the temperature every day? Are you offering more PTO? Or what are you doing? What changes are you making? And if you're not making any changes, they need to know that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's absolutely essential that everybody is transparent and everyone knows where everyone is at on this.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say, yes, I have seen some emails come through and I'm like, oh, I'm still on your email list. I completely forgot about you. But then at the same time, I am getting some emails from companies and I'm like, oh, thank you. To your point, thank you for being transparent. I hope you survive this, because once the dust settles and we get back to our normal life, I want to support your business. I want to get a meal from you or buy a hoodie, whatever it might be. So yeah, again, just be open, transparent, and be in consistent communication with all parties, employees, and I think we'll get into customers here in a moment.
Yeah, and keep frequenting your local small businesses. I was going to go to Chipotle for lunch yesterday, but instead went to Susie's Soups and spent $15 there instead of the usual $8 at Chipotle, just because I got like extra food to keep them going.
Well, yeah, let's jump into some of the marketing side of this, because there's a lot to chat about. Sandro, do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah, go for it. Please.
Okay. So the first thing that I want to, just to make this podcast a little evergreen, we always love evergreen content over here. I think my advice in the immediate, let's say, hours and days after a crisis, I think that might be the point where you do hit the pause button on your marketing. And this doesn't necessarily have to be a pandemic. It could be an earthquake, a hurricane, flood. Again, in those immediate hours and days, you might not want to be promoting something that seems a little frivolous when people are grieving or kind of collecting their thoughts about a crisis. So I do want to point that out. Again, that is a good time to hit the pause button, regroup, make sure you have the right individuals participating in your internal conversations about business strategy, marketing. I also advise that it's great to have a third-party voice, a third-party consultant or an agency sharing some insight, because I think it's very easy to be so close to what you do or so close to the situation that having someone to help you keep perspective is a really good idea. As maybe the days and weeks unfold, and in a typical crisis, let's say things would return to normal. I know that in this particular scenario that we're seeing, we're just, who knows how this is going to quite unfold, but I do want to share some tips that I wrote down as we market during this crazy time that quite also will probably be turning into a bit of a recession of some kind. Again, I'm not an economist, so I can't speak to how this is going to unfold. So I want to share some thoughts there. My first piece of advice is, please do not exploit the situation. I am not a big fan of extremely fear-based marketing tactics. I do think a little bit of healthy fear in your marketing is okay, but particularly during this time when tensions and emotions are really high, don't take advantage of the coronavirus or the COVID-19 situation. I just think that's really short-sighted. Now is definitely the time to be very mindful of the message you're getting out there. The biggest thing that we want to stress right now is to continue marketing. Do not stop. If you turn off your marketing now, I think you're going to find that it's extremely difficult to rebuild momentum around your marketing. There are studies that go as far back as the 1920s that indicate advantages of, at a minimum, maintaining your marketing budget during a time like this, a potentially weak economy. Again, don't stop, keep communicating. I also think that with so many people at home, in quarantine, maybe getting a little stir crazy, I think they're going to be very anxious for content. They're going to be checking phones, checking emails, looking for things to do. And I think if you can provide some information of value, that's going to be fantastic. You might also find that the relative noise level in your industry drops a little bit, because who knows what your competitors are thinking. They might be making the mistake of cutting their budget, cutting their marketing, and that could be a great opportunity for you. This could be a great time to project some stability and strength.
Yeah, I think there's a chain of movie theaters that are a client, and they're all shuttered here in Ohio and in Pennsylvania. And one of the things we're continuing to do is that each of those movie theaters is part of a neighborhood, part of a suburb, and we're still amplifying, retweeting neighborhood associations, people in the neighborhood who are sharing information, like Jeff said, about small business loans, there's a restaurant in my neighborhood called Banter, and they've got so many potatoes because they're a poutine place. The other day they just opened up the doors and just started giving out boxes and boxes of French fries and potatoes and things, because they were going to A, go bad, and B, they said they were covered by insurance for food spoilage. So what else to do? So we were amplifying that, as they are part of our neighborhood, for one of our movie theaters. So I think even if there's nothing that you are currently doing as a business, if you're shut down, or if there's not much you can promote, you can help amplify all the good things happening, or some of the necessary things happening in your neighborhood, in your area, in your town. That's a good way to keep the lights on and let people know you're still there. You're helping. You're part of the conversation. You're part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I love that, and I think we'll get into some creative marketing ideas as we go. Absolutely. The other note that I wrote down, or the other point that I wanted to make, was to, as difficult as it is, try to think long term. I know that there are so many unknowns right now. I mean, look, this situation it seems like it's unfolding and changing by the hour. So again, I know that thinking long term is really hard, but I would recommend avoiding short term tactics that could damage your brand. So let me give you an example. Maybe you think, all right, well, maybe this solution is I just, slash my pricing and start offering things at a steep discount. But as I look back to the last recession, the Great Recession, and I think about some brands that took that approach, in my opinion, they really damaged their brand. J. Crew and Banana Republic come to mind. I mean, I think they conditioned us as consumers to always wait for the sale, look for the coupon, and they're really struggling to sell anything at full price at this point. I also have a lot of higher end service-based business clients that we have already, even before this, spoken at length about how they don't like to discount services. They feel like it cheapens their brand. Again, resist the urge to do that now, because I think that could cause some long-term damage. And I know that these next several months are going to be difficult. Again, check out some of the links we'll include from Jeff's comments about how you can do what you can to stay afloat right now, because this will pass eventually. And again, I'm not an economist, so I don't know how long this is going to unfold, but do what you can to stay afloat. Keep your brand strong, keep getting your message out there, because I think that's going to help long term. My final thought and piece of advice is to really use this opportunity to get creative, flex your creative muscles. Over the past week, I've seen some pretty fun stuff on Instagram, brands that I've followed for years, and I'm like, oh, you're doing, like, that's so fun. So use this time to implement a marketing initiative that maybe you've been thinking about doing for ages, but you just never had the time to do it. I've also heard from a number of different people that because they're stuck at home and they obviously want to get out there on social media, they're picking up their phone, turning on video, and just jumping in. Whereas in the past, they've found a million excuses. Oh, well, my sound's not perfect. My visuals aren't going to be great. They were so focused on creating a very high quality video. And now that they're stuck at home and they literally have no excuse, they're jumping on, they're providing some great content for their subscribers and making sure they're staying in front of them, which is really important right now.
Just keep in mind to be tactful, and during this time, have some taste to what you're putting out there in terms of creativity. I've seen a few things go rogue.
So Sandra, would you err on the side of maybe less risque and conservative message? Or is that kind of what you're saying by tasteful?
Yes. You don't want to be making fun, obviously, of people or the coronavirus, or you don't know how it's affected people. But I think you can still be creative. I know there's people doing dance moves or teaching music lessons through video on Instagram, or teaching people how to plant seeds in their home, create home gardens. If there's a hobby you have that, you can share, that's pretty awesome to share. You can teach people, why not do it? It may not be what your business does, but it's still something people might be
I've seen chefs doing cooking lessons, and they're maybe, if you're a tailor, providing like how to sew on a button, some how-to stuff. Just something that to connect with your audience to have while you're at home, while you're kind of hunkering down, teach them a skill, have them share your expertise with your online community.
Heck, start a podcast. It's not that hard.
It's really not.
Yeah, and Zoom, we're going to see how this audio sounds, but you can do it via Zoom. You don't have to be in the same room.
Yeah, definitely. Thankfully, I haven't seen too many missteps from brands or companies. I think the biggest missteps I've seen so far are from celebrities, and I'm not even.
And government. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, yes, perhaps the government as well. That's a topic for another episode for sure. Sandro, any other marketing thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I think you just got to keep marketing, like you said. Make it tasteful, and don't ignore the audience you built up. They're there. They probably won't mind hearing from you, but obviously don't be overselling. Have your pulse on what's going on. Read the room. People are mainly talking about what's going on as they're quarantined. So don't be trying to sell more jeans or whatever you're selling as often or as much. Just let them know the lights are on, you're there. Respond promptly to comments. We're getting a lot of Facebook DMs asking questions about menu items, about movies, about refunds. Be a little more lenient with your refunds if you can, or extend the time. We have some Groupons, and we're extending Groupons another 6 to 8 months if they're about to expire. Err on the side of the customer and keep marketing.
I'm curious if you guys have any predictions about which businesses or industries, again, on the smaller side. I'm not talking about the ventilator companies and people making Purell and masks, medical masks right now, but on the small business side, do you have any predictions about what types of businesses might do really well during this?
Personal trainers are doing virtual training. I think that's really cost effective for them. I think I'm getting antsy in my house. I've been in my house, maybe a week. So, people are kind of looking for that kind of a virtual, and it's more community. So you actually can talk to someone else. So I think if you can, any business that can perform their service virtually and they're good at it, I think those businesses can do really well. They could probably expand the number of clients and customers that they have and grow their business, because I think people are going to be seeking that kind of thing out.
Yeah, Peloton stock is going through the roof because at home working out, as is Zoom, obviously.
Yes. All right. Well, good. I think that kind of wraps it up for today. As we were chatting, I jotted down some other notes. I think this is a topic that we'll continue to revisit as this unfolds. Sandro and I really haven't spoken too much about what our publishing schedule is going to look like over the next couple months. I do know that we have a couple episodes backlogged that we truthfully still need to edit and get published. So I think you'll be hearing from us hopefully a couple times a month over the next several months. We definitely want to be here. We want to share some good advice and cheer you through this, because I think we need to stick together and help each other as much as we can.
I'm looking forward to it, and maybe we'll have Jeff back.
Yeah.
I'll have to check my schedule. No, I'm kidding. I'll be back whenever you guys want.
You're the best. Thank you for being here, Jeff. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Love you too.
That wraps it up for today. Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us on iTunes, Google Podcast, and Spotify. If you have a couple minutes, we would love for you to show us some love on iTunes and leave us a review. If you have any questions or want to share your story, you can reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll definitely give you a shout out on the show. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Da 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 dickadoo dickadoo doo 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 dickadoo dick wow doo 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 wow. Put that at the end. And cut.